What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are coming to you live from a couple of places on the internet. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch. Of course, Pete's favorite platform, second favorite platform next to Nutty Putty, right, Pete?
Oh, see, this is why I don't tell you things.
I mean, that's not a big secret. Pete went on vacation.
It's not a big secret. You were saying that you like Nutty Putty. What is Nutty Putty, Pete? I didn't get to ask you before we started.
It's up an old forge in the Adirondacks. Shouts to JT Sizzle's shirt there. It's a old school putt-putt rinky-dink golf course type of thing, and it's all handmade wood carved pieces, and it's a legendary place.
And so you're the brand manager for Nutty Putty, right?
That's
you're
right,
out
bro.
Here as the spokesman, getting it out to the people.
Gets nuts with the putts. Let's go do this, man.
Wow. Okay, work on the slogan, but otherwise,
yeah,
good.
Maybe not. Were you able to lock down the web domain for that, or did you have to futz it a little bit?
Yeah.
Instead of the P. I knew it.
Wait.
What?
Pete's been exposed. Pete got nervous. It was too much.
It was too much. All right. Sorry, Pete. Sorry for calling you out. I really did honestly want to know what Nutty Putty is because we ran out of time. Pete was like, come on, we got to start the show. And I was like, please, let's delay. We got to talk about Nutty Putty. And
that's what we're doing.
This is what you're doing right now, which is horrible. Yeah. We have amazing guests to get to. Stop.
We do have amazing guests. Later on in the show, Dad Barrett is going to be here. But why don't we bring in our first guest? He's the creator behind The Strange Tales of Oscar Zahn. Ladies and gentlemen, Tri Vuong. Chai, welcome. Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Excited to have you here. Excited to talk about this book. Now, this book is new. It's coming out September 10th from 10 Speed Graphic, collecting the webtoon. But the webtoon goes all the way back, I believe, to 2016. And I assume before that for you, because I assume you were working on it for a while.
Yeah, you probably had the idea before.
Yeah, you probably
did. Hypothetical.
Yes.
Sort of. Actually, I was thinking about this when I was making a coffee right before the show. I was like, my God, I hope I remember my own comic.
Wow.
As for whether it started before that, my confession is that comic didn't have a lot of pre-planning. It was almost like a stream of thought, I just started with page 1, and then I lingered. It took me 1 year to do that, so I guess I thought about it for 1 year for that one page. And then I did a second page and uploaded the comic from there, and all of a sudden people started reading it. So I had to kind of get my act together and learn how to write a story.
If I may, it seems like the exact opposite of that. It's just so well drawn, curated. It's got this real vibe to it. I was blown away by how amazing this comic was. So it's kind of crazy to hear you be like, yeah, just,
well, my anxiety hid all the, everything was hidden underneath my anxiety. So I'm glad I fooled you guys.
Yeah, fool.
Well, can you talk about that a little bit? Because it must be to go into something and sort of have a page by page understanding from something that has a big mythology and a big underlying sort of world. How did you go from one page to a whole world around it?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if I really sat down and dissected how I went about doing it, because I didn't really plan for it to be as long as it eventually became, and maybe continues to be. And also, I was trying to figure out the medium of how to tell stories in comic book form, because I'd never done it before. That first page of Oscar Zahn I drew was the first page of any comic I've ever drawn, because I came from I know how to draw. I came from an animation background,
That's
a
clear.
video game background, but I didn't really know how comics were made. So it was more made an exercise on how do I do these things, and what I didn't know this at the time, but I found out in retrospect, I was sort of asking myself questions that I also let myself answer. Ooh. And I guess that's kind of how storytelling sort of works. Rather than starting with the answer and then, just giving it to you, it can kind of end up kind of boring. But if I was interested in the questions, well, then maybe the readers will be too. So it was all, to be honest, kind of an accident.
Wow. Well,
And,
this is a glorious accident, man. I'm sorry, Alex. Before you get to your real question, I just want to dote on this a little bit more because we read a lot of comics. I was really, really blown away by this. I mean, the art. Also, I loved how it like kind of starts off eerie, black and white, and then the flashbacks are in color. You're making some amazing creative choices with this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, eventually I kind of got my head together. Eventually I had to pre-plan things a little bit, but I really wanted to come up with something that I would never be bored by. Like I thought of I just wanted to make something that I could, if I needed to, I could hop genres or even hop styles. Like when
Yeah.
it comes to drawing, consistency isn't my forte. So I was like, well, let's just lean into my sort of ADHD brain and just structure it almost like a quantum leap kind of episode. It's like every story is its own thing. Like maybe he'll have it up in space one day. I don't really know, but I wanted to make something that if I did something wacky, it would still feel uh I don't know what's the word, consistent, I guess, with the
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
tone.
well, so just to lay out the concept of it, you've got this. I don't know if it's fair to call them a supernatural investigator. I think that's
Right.
probably the closest analog, I guess, to
Yeah.
what it is. He is a floating skull on a body, and he
So
investigates
cool.
these weird mysteries. That's where it starts. And then it delves further into his history, what's going on with him. He has some secrets behind him. It goes historically back in time. It goes to fantastical worlds all over the place. How do you pitch it? I mean, what did I miss there? I guess.
I mean that's pretty good. I think that sounds about right. I guess let's say I would add to that um maybe he differs from your regular supernatural investigator is that he actually works on behalf of the ghosts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's solving sort of mysteries and such for the supernatural as opposed for the human realm. And it's kind of got a gentle tone for it because I wanted to make a character that was actually very bad at violence and confront. Like he's quite the pacifist. He's
Yeah.
not a very physical character. So a lot of the problems he has to solve can't be solved with punching. Like I love a good punching story, but I just wanted to do something like maybe there's more nuance to it and it has to be solved through like maybe compassion, empathy, or just talking.
And where did you come up with the name? I also really love his name. It's such an interesting, cool name.
Oh, um, I wish like I don't know. I think
Huh?
I was
Did it just come to you in a
Wow.
dream or
sort of. I
something?
mean, I guess I figured that this is the way I work, is it just sort of comes to me. I
Hmm.
think maybe the I wanted like the first letter and the last letter to look good together. And
Hmm.
then I was just sort of looking at it and then OZ, oh, that works.
Yeah,
And
it does.
then playing
Yeah.
around with it for a little bit. And it's like, oh, Oscar Zahn, I guess he's German or of German descent somewhere. We never really say. So yeah, it looked good visually. So I was like, well, that might be it.
That's a
Yeah.
cool way to look
It
at
sort
it.
of, if I were to make some sort of comparisons when I'm reading this, it feels like Hellboy meets
Yeah.
Tintin. I think you could say.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Maybe. Like, can you talk about your influences? Those are just mine. I'm making up.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's those uh, Ghibli movies were a big influence.
Yeah.
H.P. Lovecraft, of course.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The I mean, I was a massive, and I still am, of course, a massive Mike Mignola fan.
Yeah.
The Tintin influence was a surprise to me. I didn't know that I would eventually draw like that. I have no idea where it came from, and it must be just from as a kid. I read Tintin comics, and they meant a lot to me as a kid. But I haven't read Tintin in 40 years or something like that.
Wow.
Just like a huge
Just
amount of
deep in the
decades.
brain, the lizard
I
brain.
think so. I mean, I guess this comic turned out to be like self-therapy or something, but nothing was pre-planned. But you know what? I gave myself the permission to just go with it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Tintin
glad you
emerged.
did.
Well, let's talk about what this is now, this book this is now, because this collects the first 65 chapters of the webtoon. From what you said earlier, if you were just kind of approaching it like, okay, I'm just going to go page by page and kind of see what happens, what was it like approaching it now and forming it into this book, or was it just passing it to an editor and being like, "You deal with this"?
Oh no. I mean, so the like when you look past the romance of I'm just gonna go with it, that approach has a lot of problems. Especially when you need to like turn it into a book because I knew I wanted to do it in print. At that time, Webtoons was new, so I didn't even know like what's a Webtoon, and I had to like
Hmm.
know it's a format in Korea. So I drew it for print, and then I decided to write it for Webtoon. So the dimensions are completely different.
Oh wow.
And then now that it's turning back to print, I had to sort of almost redo the comic again. So it's not like a
Wow.
copy and paste thing. Some of it worked translated pretty well, especially visually, but the writing had to be almost completely redone. Like the book is all like the story's the same, but it's almost like this is my chance to sit down and do like a second or third pass on it. Because with webtoons, it's every week, so you don't have
Yeah.
time to second guess yourself. You just going with the stream of consciousness thing. You just go with your first instinct, and it's fine when it's like you read 3 pages at a time, but when you read like 270, it's not so great. It needs an editing job.
So
Yeah.
you're saying you didn't just re-letter the book; you actually sort of rewrote the book in
I
parts.
rewrote, I even
Wow.
redrew certain
Wow.
sequences. Just
Wow.
that yeah.
When you were going
And with
back and trying to fit something into an older page, did you try to match your style from 6, 8 years ago?
Yeah, that was hard. Somewhat. To the point where it wouldn't jump out to me, like
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
somebody else. It's not obvious to me, but hopefully it's not jarring to to somebody else. I didn't try to make it. I tried to make it better, so that was
Hmm.
the one thing. But yeah, it was tricky. But I'm kind of naturally inclined to that, anyways. Like if you give me an unlimited budget of time, I'll just. That's why that first page took me 1 year to do because I
yes,
just
you can keep
kept
making it
on
better.
redrawing it. But so that was easy to rework stuff. If you said you can redraw every single page, I probably would. But there was
Wow.
the deadline I had to hit as well.
Yeah. Um, so you have the first 65 chapters here. This collects a bunch of different stories, but obviously leaves it dangling open for more. What can you tease about that more? What happens as the story goes forward?
In the theoretical next book, I
Yes,
guess.
exactly.
Well, there is still one. There's been 100 chapters of the webtoon, so 1/3 of the book of the series still needs to be adapted into print form.
Wow.
And that one will be a completely new story with a new supporting cast.
Oh
Actually, new
wow.
stars, really. In a lot of ways, Oscar is the supporting cast member, and we're going to be in a new environment, a little bit more grounded. It's set in the Pacific Northwest because I love the spooky vibes of the Pacific Northwest. And
It
I
is
wanted to
weird.
ground Oscar a little bit. He drives a car. He, checks into a motel, interacts with townspeople a
There's
little bit.
nothing more down to earth than checking into a motel.
Oh
I have
man.
always said that.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. So that's one. That's the remaining story that needs to be adapted. And then I am actually working on all new stories for Oscar Zahn as well. And what those are, I don't know. There's a lot of like half-finished stuff. So we'll see what ends up on the printed page. Right now, he could be like in feudal Japan. He could be in maybe he has aliens. I
Wow.
don't really know. It's whatever will be fun for me to work on for the next year, I guess.
Trust the
Wow.
process. Draw that first page. See what
Yeah,
It
happens.
man.
hasn't let me wrong yet. Yeah. So
And
yeah.
so
Obviously, you've
you're
done a lot of.
saying
Oh
that
yeah,
you'll
go ahead, Justin.
sorry, Alex, you'll debut that new stuff in the next volume, or will it go up on Webtoon first?
It'll be in the new volume. It'll be in the new
Wow.
volume.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's your this is your first going direct to print, basically.
Yeah, yeah, all new Oscars on stories that I will be starting uh since like spent devoting most of my time working on probably in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Now, obviously, you've done a lot of different things in your career, like we were talking about earlier. But did this open doors for you? You know, you've done a lot of other comics in particular since you did the Lego Ninjago thing. You've got Everyday Hero Machine Boy and a couple of other things. is there a line from Oscar Zahn to that other stuff, or is it all sort of
There's
parallel?
a direct line. It's like not even vaguely related. It was so the reason I did Oscar Zahn was I was working in animation, video games, like I said, but I was like a studio artist, and it taught me to draw and work in teams, work in a couple of projects. But I didn't have a like I never if I had a voice, I didn't know, a creative
Mm.
voice. I so at the point when I was gonna do Oscar Zahn, I was ready to maybe this art thing is not quite working out for me. Like it's a living, but it's not exactly why I got into a creative field. So I thought I would just spend 1 year making a thing for now just for me, and that turned out to be Oscar Zahn. And I didn't. I never. I did a pretty poor job marketing it, but it found a following, which in turn led to me, editors discovering Oscar Zahn, which led in turn, to me making Everyday Hero Machine Boy, which is another graphic novel I did with a friend, and that led to Lego and then other stuff. And I was like, oh, there's probably a life lesson in here. Like maybe I should believe. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what like kind of believe in yourself, or maybe or just be sincere to your own impulses, and something
Mm.
good will always happen. Like we're not gonna say you're gonna hit it rich. I don't know, right? But something positive generally will be happen if you're just true to yourself, I think. And I'm trying
Wow.
to still remember that lesson.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do
Uh,
stuff is the core
do
lesson.
Yeah,
stuff. That's the
that's
big
true to
lesson.
you.
That's
Yeah, that's
yes.
important to you.
Yeah.
No, just do
Justin.
stuff. That's
No,
Just
Oh
do
yeah,
no.
stuff.
do something.
yeah.
Do
That
anything is
was
better than doing. Yeah.
that was the Michael Jordan thing, right? Do stuff.
I think
He
that's what
said
he
that.
said. Yeah,
I'm
Nike.
pretty sure. I don't
Nike,
know.
You're
do
asking the wrong
stuff.
guy about sports.
Yeah, I don't know. Nike. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's two guys who don't both neither know about
Oh, do it.
stuff.
Just do it. Right?
Just do
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. And
that makes more sense.
Anything else you want to plug before we let you go? Obviously, this is a lot of stuff we've already talked through, but anything else going on that people should check out?
Yeah, well, I mean, please check out The Strange Tales of Oscar Zahn. It'll be out
Yeah,
in
please do. It's
September
amazing.
10th. Yeah,
So
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, 1 week.
Yeah, and other than that, I have like a middle grade graphic novel I mentioned before, Everyday Hero Machine Boy, that I did with Irma Knievela, and that's available right now. And it's another story that's really dear to my heart. It's about like a karate fighting robot boy. And right now, I'm also working on some Ninjago comics, and they are available at stores right now as well.
Nice.
Ninjago
Awesome.
Shatterspin.
Awesome.
Excellent, Try. Thank you so much for coming on. Congrats on the book.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm looking forward to volume 2.
Yeah, can't
Great, thank
wait.
you for having me. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Take
Loved
care.
it. Talk to you soon.
There we go. Once again, the book is called The Strange Tales of Oscar Zahn. It's coming out from 10 Speed Graphics September 10th, next week. Check it out. It is awesome. Like you were saying,
Very
Justin, definitely if you are a fan of BPRD and
Oh,
Hellboy
yeah.
and things
Yeah.
like that, 100%.
It's a
nothing
great
to not miss.
synthesis of Hellboy and BPRD, like sort of as Hellboy was tailing off a bit and BPRD was the focus of that
Mhm.
universe.
Mhm.
This book combines it both in a way. If you've been jonesing for those things, definitely pick this up.
Yeah, I'm a new OZ head, man. I love this world.
You're an
OZ.
Ozhead. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
There we go. You're the OG OZ, I guess.
Oh,
Why don't we bring in our next guest? He is known for a lot of different Archie comic stuff, but the most recent thing that came out a week ago is Archie the Decision,
oh
where
yeah, I
Archie
remember
kind of made a decision between Betty and Veronica. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Parent. Dan, welcome.
that. Hey,
Hello.
welcome.
Hey. How are
Yay.
ya? Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh,
Great
thank
to
you for
have you.
coming on. Excited to talk about this book. I do want to give a spoiler warning here to anybody who hasn't checked it out, but it's been out for a week, and I think you guys were pretty open about what the book is and what was actually happening in there. But to take it back before we get into any like plot or spoilers or anything, how were you approached by this? I mean, I know you do Archie stuff all the time, but
Yeah.
when they came to you, you're like, Tom King wants to do a book. He wants to work with you, or you want to work with him. How did it come together?
Well, Tom and I actually went to Archie
Oh,
Oh,
because I had met Tom quite a few times at different conventions, and we were good friends. And he was always buying comics and art from me. He's a huge Archie fan. His kids are Archie fans. So, and we just got to talking about working on something together. And he was like, "Oh, I'd love to do something. I'd love to write an Archie, story." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sure we can make that happen. I'm sure Archie isn't going to shy away from that. So at Terrificon last year, Tom was there, and Mike Pellerito from Archie was there. He's the president of Archie. And so we all got together, and we were like, we want to do a book, whether it be a limited series or a one shot or whatever. So that was sort of when we sort of cemented the idea right there, which was a year ago. And then, then it just became what it was. Tom kind of came up with this plot. He kind of thought, we kind of like doing a one shot would probably be good because we wanted to sort of get it out. And Tom's schedule is so ridiculously busy because he's like writing TV shows and comics and doing a million things. So he came up with the idea for the one shot, and then it happened. I think he was writing it over. I think he was writing it over the holidays, early last year, and then I drew it in the spring, this past spring, and that was it. That was the decision.
The decision about the decision. So I'll just mention the spoiler up front here, but it starts with the idea that Archie is going to finally make a decision between Betty and Veronica. Jughead's urging, he flips a coin, and the majority of the book is the coin rolling through Riverdale as the various characters react to it. But by the end of the book, he realizes he forgot to make a call. He forgot to call the coin. So ultimately there is no decision there. Was there a point when you were discussing it when he was actually going to make a decision between Betty and Veronica, or was the idea
Alex, get out of here with that coin?
No, I'm not asking for a decision, but tell me which one.
I believe, Tom would know more than I, but I'm pretty sure in our discussions that the idea of the decision, there was never going to be a decision.
Yeah.
The idea was the concept of deciding and making a decision. That doesn't mean the decision is going to be made. So Archie's intentions were good, but Archie's intentions are always good, and he always never falls through. Things never fall through, or carry through, I should say. So so it was just another misadventure. The idea really was to do sort of like a farce and to get as many characters as we could get in there as possible. And
that's my question for you, actually. So one thing I love about the story is just how deep the roster of Riverdale characters.
It was fun to see.
What was it like for you? How many of those characters at this point, you've done so much Archie, do you have just in your head? Are you going back and like, what's this guy? When you're drawing this?
Most of them I have in my head. I don't need reference for them because I've drawn them before. There's a few characters I need reference for. If I'm drawing like Cosmo, the Martian, or one of the superheroes, I do have to get a little reference going. But for the most part, I know there's still characters we forgot or characters we left out. But so I was just consciously. Tom wrote a list of all the characters to put in there, and then I added more characters as just in the background, just when I would think of a character. But there's still some that aren't there. But we got a lot in. We got a very large percentage in.
Who are your favorites from the sort of C level characters in the Archie world?
Well, I always liked Jelly Bean, which is Jughead's sister.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we created her. Bill Collier and I created her back in the 90s. We at that point we were like, none of the Archie characters have siblings, so we need to do something. And we're like, Archie's. We're like, all these parents in Riverdale, they're all of childbearing age. Why are there no new children in Riverdale?
Let's make a baby.
You're right. So we had Jughead's parents, bringing in a child. Jelly Bean was fun, and I used Jelly Bean a lot. I use her a lot in stories, in current stories, in like the digest stories and news stories. I use her, and there's other characters. I always like the Archie-esque, like Wilbur. And they were like Archie ripoffs done by Archie.
Yeah,
Archie was so popular for a period back in the 50s and 60s that they just were ripping themselves off by doing like other like that Wilkin Boy was another one.
Yeah,
technically that Wilkin Boy was kind of a takeoff of Wilbur because Wilbur ran for like a couple decades or 10, 15 years. and they were going to bring Wilbur back, and that's when they brought back that They made it into that Wilkin boy. So technically, they're the same character, but they're also not. So
it's really funny to imagine the Archie office being like, "All right, what's another boy? How can we come up with another boy?" And they nailed it.
Yeah. This is a very typical comic book question, so I have a fair idea of what your answer is going to be here. But given that you did invent Jelly Bean Jones, and I don't think you mentioned this, but you also invented Kelvin Keller and a bunch of other characters there that ultimately did end up on screen in Riverdale, among other places. But what's it like when you see those characters that you not just crafted the idea of, but also really crafted the look for becoming real life, so to speak?
It's interesting because when they were casting Riverdale, they actually showed me some of the the test reels of actors that were trying out.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then when they hired the actor who played Kevin, they were gonna make his hair blonde like Kevin in the book, because otherwise, but then once they did it, it was like, well, I don't think you really need to. Not that they were listening to me; they could have done it whatever they wanted. But he did capture sort of like the feeling of Kevin. I thought they cast him well. But it is weird to see, like something that you've written or created on screen and someone else's interpretation of it. Just like there were some of the stories I did in the comics. Like I did a comic book story series for a while where Archie was dating Valerie from Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, and
they used that storyline in Riverdale for a couple episodes. And it was weird sort of seeing that storyline sort of on the small screen. So that it's interesting to see the interpretations. Well, fortunately, in my case, I was pretty pleased with the things I saw. I've heard other stories where people aren't so happy when they see their characters they do on the live screen. But Roberto Sacasa, Aguirre Sacasa, who worked for Archie, who was a creative director, created Riverdale, and he's a big, comic book writer and stuff. So big, huge Archie fan. So it was in good hands. So I was pretty happy.
And we'll move on for this for a second, but I'm just curious, when you see something like Kevin Keller, for you as the artist, is the real Kevin Keller the one you're drawing more so than the one that appears on screen?
I would say so. Yeah, because I think it's still, I still have an interpretation in my head of the character. So I say that the stories I've written and drawn of Kevin, I'd say are still the real Kevin. Just like Archie, I love Riverdale, but I still think the real Archie is classic Archie. And then they've done the realistic versions and Afterlife with Archie, which I enjoy too. But to me, Archie is like the Dan DeCarlo, Harry Lucy, Archie comics. That's always the true Archie.
Now, as someone who's on sort of creating the brighter side of Archie, in the same world where you have a show like Riverdale and you have Afterlife with Archie and sort of the horror comics coming out from Archie at the same time, how does that feel for you? Like, I ask a lot of the horror creators why Archie works so well in that. And right. What from your perspective on the sort of the other side?
Well, the Archie characters work in a ton of different scenarios. I mean, they work even in the Archie universe, we always had little Archie and the Archie superheroes, and them as Archie as the man from Riverdale, which is like a James Bond kind of thing. So when they do Afterlife with Archie or the different horror comics, they just work because people are familiar with the characters. The characters are very familiar to everybody, so you can put them in many situations. And as long as you know those characters, as long as they stay true to the characters, it doesn't really matter if they draw them realistically or change it to horror or whatever. It just seems to work because of the familiarity of them. So, I thought Afterlife with Archie really worked well, and it was such a different takeoff of the characters, but. It still it attracted a lot of the classic fans and a lot of new fans.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you the flip question then, and maybe it's the same answer, but since you are on the classic Archie side and there's still digests and the classic comic books being published every single week,
Yeah.
Why has that stayed around? Because that's something that's been around for even longer, for decades and decades at this point.
Yeah. I don't know why it's stuck around. I think a lot of it is because of the way we sell our comics, because we sell the majority of our comics on the newsstand, which is unlike everyone else. No one else. The newsstand is dead to everyone else, but we sell books in the newsstand because we've been there for so long, and we are in like supermarket checkouts and drugstore checkouts. So
My first
it's
comics.
a prime spot. Everybody has to, everybody has to go in the checkout line to check out. And, when you have things like a pandemic and people, are the only place they can go is drugstores and supermarkets, you have a very captive audience. So we sold a lot of books during the pandemic. But people are just used to seeing us there. Like, I think if we were to go away for a while, we won't lose that momentum of that space of being there. So we've been there steadily. The digests have been around 50 years now, since the early 70s, and have just been a continual force. And up until like 10, 20 years ago, now they're like our main main breadwinners. Like they are our biggest sellers are the digests. And it's to sell tens and hundreds of thousands of books in this day and age is pretty rare. It's pretty rare.
Well, to get even more specific, what is it that draws you back to this, other than, hey, it's nice to have a job and draw things?
Well, that is a part of it. I've been at Archie, been there 38 years, and I have not had an excuse to leave. Wow. They haven't gotten rid of me, and I haven't quit, so it seems to be working out pretty well at this point. I guess I've had job security. I grew up as an Archie fan. So I've always been attracted to classic Archie. I was a big Dan DeCarlo, Harry Lucy fan growing up. Went to art school, lucked into getting a job there because they were hiring. They liked my work. It was like a kind of a good timing sort of a situation. But I'm always drawn back to the classic. I have drawn a little bit of the realistic, and I've been approached to do more. Back when it was like 7-8 years ago, when they were really pushing the realistic style. And I just never really wanted to do it. I just, I like it. I know, like some people there are some people who only like classic and only like the new stuff. They don't like mix the two. I think I like both. I really do. I think there's an audience for both. And I'm not just saying that. I enjoy both. But as far as me drawing and writing, I just want to do classic. It's just really, to me, that's the core Archie.
What's the frontier for you working on something for so long? Like when you're setting down to draw a new story, like how you're like, what am I going to do differently this time?
Well, that's a good question, because you would think I would run out of ideas, and I don't seem to be at this point. I mean, I'm not going to say I've never repeated a story before, as I think in my 38 years, I've read a couple stories that were very similar. So that does happen. But for the most part, I've never really had writer's block. I've always been able to come up with ideas, probably based on my mind works like a TV sitcom. I watch a lot of TV and movies, and my mind sort of functions that way. And Archie, like 5-page Archie stories, are basically like a sitcom, like a 30-minute sitcom to me.
Yeah.
So I frame everything like that, and I always come up with the endings first, and I always write a story around
really?
that.
Is that because they're essentially gag strips, or is there another reason for that?
They sort of are, but it's actually harder to write a 5-page story than a 20-page story. Because for a long time, like in the early 2000s and into the 2010s and up, we were doing a lot of one full books. So I was doing a lot of 20-page stories. The 20-page stories are much harder. I'm so sorry. The 5-page stories are much harder. The 20-page stories, you can always pad them and fill them up a little bit. You could add a scene here and there. The 5-page stories, you've got a very limited amount of real estate to work with. So you have to really kind of hone in and you have to have like the first page has to be like a splash page basically. So it's a very particular weird sort of timing you have to have on those. but fortunately, Archie's history consists of a lot of 5-page stories, 5 and 6-page stories. But yeah, I think I'm just into that groove of the 5-pagers, and every once in a while, like I have to rewrite or recalibrate, and sometimes I'll write the story out and it's like 7 pages, and I have to condense. But I've been doing this so much that pretty much I can write it in my head, and then it's kind of like in my brain, and I just put it down, and it works out pretty well.
Well,
you
to
dream
get back,
in Archie.
Kind of.
well, to get back to the decision for a second, you're working off of a Tom King script there, and mind you, I haven't read his scripts, but I've read a lot of his comic books, and he's very structured. Like even in this book, there's not every page, but there's still the 9-panel grid that he likes a lot and uses a lot. So when you're drawing something like that, what was different about tackling this, or was it just another script that you were drawing?
Yeah, I mean, he apologized for the multiple panel pages.
Good.
I didn't find them that obtrusive, that difficult, because most of them were just like close-ups. They were pretty simple shots, so they were like they weren't too bad. I found he just gave me just enough description to work with. And yeah, aside from that, the only thing I had to really follow was how many panels were on the page, because when I'm writing my own stories and drawing them, I'm just kind of winging it as I go along, and I kind of in my head I already know there's going to be 5 or 6 panels. So this I have to pay a little more attention when it's someone else's script, and I have to pay a little more attention when it's a typed out script. I used to working from storyboarded scripts.
Oh wow!
So that's how I write my stories. So it's a little bit of a different thing, but I like that. I enjoy, since I write almost all of my own stories, I enjoy working off someone else. And it's been a few years since I've actually worked on someone else's script. So I really I'd actually like to do more of that. I'd actually like to write less of my stories, to be able to believe it or not.
Really?
Do you have other non-Archie comics writers you'd want to work with other than Tom King?
Yeah. I mean, most of of course, I grew up like in the the 70s and 80s, so it was like these DC and Marvel writers that I grew up with, who I'd love to work with. Who, I mean, sadly, some have passed on, and some are still around. There was like some writers I would still like to work with, that I talked to at shows. Like Steve Orlando and I were going to work on a project once, and it didn't happen.
That's awesome.
There's a couple other writers I talked to who we've things could still happen, things could still do. But I'm I'd like to definitely draw more. I do a lot of covers. I would like to draw more sequential stuff, which is kind of weird because most people in my who've been around like the block like me like to just do covers, and I get it. This is a lot easier to do. But I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more sequential stuff for Marvel, DC, Dynamite. I've done some Vampirella stuff and some Red Sonja stuff, and I'm going to be doing some more variant covers for the other companies coming up. But I just did what was that? Svengoolie. I did a Svengoolie.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was fun. I'm also like a big Meat TV fan, so I watch Svengoolie too.
I was just visiting my family, and I watched all of the Svengoolie show one night, and I was like, "This is awesome." It's wild to discover that.
Yeah. And then I was asked to do it at Comic-Con, at San Diego Comic-Con, and Dan DiDio is producing it.
Oh wow!
Through his company.
Awesome.
So so I had like about like a week to do, like it's like a 6-page story, so I had about a week to do it. So I had to like jump on it, but it was fun. I like to, I'm always and then I have my own series, Die Kitty Die, which we kickstart that, and it's been 4 years since we've done that, and I gotta get back on that at some point. But the idea of doing another Kickstarter is always daunting.
If Tom was going to return the favor and have you do something in DC, like let's say a Batman book, would you try to augment your style at all, or is your style your style? And
I
you
would
just
probably,
like it?
try and alter it a little bit. Like when I did, we did Archie meets Batman '66,
Mhm.
I tried to do it more. I mean, it's still my style. You can still you can still tell I did it, but I was trying to do it more like I don't know. I was looking more like at like J Bone stuff and Darwin
Mhm.
Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more like that. I mean, I'm not. You're never going to see me doing anything like that's like dark and gritty looking.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea, or it's not part of who I am. But I'm always up to try and do stuff that's a little bit different, a little bit more realistic. So yeah. I'm always still trying to challenge myself. With different projects when I can. So.
Do you have, as someone who's like, you're like the definitional creator, I feel like, for Archie in the modern sense, is there something in the back of your notebook that you're like, someday I'll get to that in the Archie world?
In the Archie world,
yeah.
I still haven't done anything really substantial with the Archie superheroes. And I don't mean the MLJ ones. They're okay, but I like Archie as Pure Heart. Betty Super Teen. I always thought I could do like a really good book with those, and I would like to do to take those characters and do like a DC or Marvel crossover would be fun.
Would be so good.
That's something that would be nice. My bucket list project that will probably never happen. But I always wanted to do a Legion of Superheroes for DC.
Oh,
wow.
That would be great.
idea.
Yeah.
We have to make that happen.
Yes.
Something like a one shot or whatever, because I grew up as being such a Legion fan, and I know I could do a great job. I just know it. I just feel it. So, but I have to, until they come to me, knocking on my door.
It's such a slam dunk. Yo, Jeff Johns, you listen sometimes. Let's go.
What's funny is I was talking to Jeff Johns at I think it was at Denver Con a few weeks ago, about something, actually, about working on something. He's doing Ghost Machine now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So, and, so I don't know even the details, but Archie's been talking to them, and I was talking to Jeff Johns about something. So who knows? Who knows?
That would be great. That would be super fun as well.
But yeah, Legion would be that would be my my bucket list project. So I have to just go out and just whenever I'm on, doing social media posts, just constantly talk about I need to do a Legion book, and maybe someday
who you should talk to, who does a lot of stuff with DC, is this guy named Tom King. He might have.
I should. I should just go right to the source and say, Tom, write a one-shot Legion book for me.
Serious. And he's never touched. He's never touched
No,
Legion.
he
That's
hasn't,
perfect.
I think.
Yeah, I don't think he has. That's a perfect. See, you've infected me with this wish now, Dan. So now I have to wish this too.
Well, now I might have to use my close contacts.
Yeah, please
do. Awesome. Is there, before we let you go, is there anything else you want to plug? Obviously, the decision is still on stands. People should check it out. It's great. Super good comic book. But anything else coming up that you want people to check out?
I would just say I'm just working on a whole bunch of stuff for 2025. I've just finished all my Christmas stuff for this year, my Christmas stories, and I did a Archie Christmas special. But next year, I'm just working on, already working on summer stuff and spring stuff for next year. I might try and do a Die Kitty Die book next year, and I have some more. I'm exclusive with Mellow Fellow Trading doing Archie variants, so I've got a lot of Archie variants coming out. Cool. I also have a bunch of I'm doing Ninja Turtles variant covers, and I'm doing Star Trek variant covers, and I'm doing covers for the boys, and then I'm going to be doing I think some Vampirella covers. So I've got a lot of variants coming out.
That's great. A boys cover would be hilarious.
And then who knows? Maybe I'll have to just push this Legion thing.
Come on, let's bring it to life. Let's make it happen.
Foot soldiers in
I'm really good at
army.
nagging, so maybe if I just don't shut up about it, I didn't.
Yeah,
same thing happened with Archie Batman '66. I didn't shut up about it, So it just happened, I think, just to shut me up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do the same thing with Legion. I'll just keep talking about it until they just shut me up.
Hell
We
yeah.
will back
Wield
you
that
up
force.
100%.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much for coming on. Congrats on the
Yeah.
book. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Great
Thank
to
you.
talk to you.
All
Take
right.
care.
Later.
All right, there we go. Once again, the book is called Archie, The Decision. It's out now. That was Dan Parrott. It's great. And please, yes,
I'm so hyped now. I'm out of my mind.
Yeah, we gotta make this happen. That would be
my
such
two
a perfect. Yeah, exactly.
My two prime interests especially when I was first reading comics, I was like, I like these Legionnaires. And I loved Archie was the first comics I bought. And now I can't believe we never thought of this. We should have thought
so
of it.
obvious.
We should.
It's
We
right-
messed
right,
up.
right in front of us. This
We
whole
messed
time.
up.
You know what's
We-
also great is I love when stories start where creators meet other creators at conventions. You know, you think of these conventions as just fun for the fans to be able to kind of interact and see people and stuff like that. But it's so great for them too because it's bringing worlds together and they come up with new projects. I mean, it's
That's
a
where the
win-win.
future comics happen. It just happens over like bumping into someone, people talking. It really is a hotbed of the industry. That's why you got to be there.
Yeah, you got to be there.
Gots
That's our
to
hot
be there.
tip.
King of San Diego over here.
All right, why don't we move on to our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It is your audience questions. And for audience questions, all you got to do is drop a question on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Can be about absolutely anything, and we will get to it. Instagram also. They're not as active, I got to be honest. Nothing against her.
Oh, shots.
They're
fired.
not,
Alex,
but-
have you been
Shots
checking
fired.
the Instagram?
I have
Yeah,
been checking.
what's up with
Prove
you and
me
the gram?
wrong. Prove me wrong. Natty.eats.junk. And
calling
the
out
Chew
Natty?
album. Jonathan Marks' art is there. James Bennett, excuse me.
I like the shout outs, Alex. So
Yeah,
there
this
you
is
go.
fun. This is a
IG
fun
shout
part
outs
of the
Alex
show.
Albin live on the show.
Yes. Well, what are you guys drinking tonight? I believe the
Shout out to Michael Tillman. Shout out to Michael T. You know,
Different
just
people.
We have cornered the market there, by the way. The Michael T's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got
And
all the
that's-
Michael T's.
That's the Michael T.
Hey!
New segment alert.
Woo!
the Michael
The
T.
Michael T.
Yes.
Welcome to the Michael T.
Brett Macris, our official CBC chef, called for a shot and a beer this evening. I have not done that, but I did have a Manhattan because that's what I had around. I needed to finish.
Is a
off
Manhattan when you combine a shot and a beer? Is that what that is?
It is not. No.
Yeah, pizza bartender. I made a real, basically a Boulevardier and added apple cider, feeling the full fall vibes. It went from like 80 to 60 in New York in one day over Labor Day. So shouts to the
man,
fall
so nice.
intensity are happening.
Break out the hoodies. You know what I mean? I'm having the last of my land sharks here.
Wow.
Knock, knock.
That's a
Who's there?
lie.
Land shark.
That's a
What are
lie.
you switching over to, Pete?
Oh, you'll see the new reveal next episode. You got
Pumpkin beer, right? It's pumpkin beer season.
Not on your
No.
life.
He's just doing a beer called Regular Shark. You're going to
Great.
love it.
While we're waiting for some questions to come in, I do want to
Regulation
bring this
shark.
up. Scheuchler, our frequent antagonist in the questions section, mentioned before the show that he had picked up the Taco Bell Mountain Dew Baja Blast Gelato. He said, I finished the Taco Bell Mountain Dew Baja Blast Gelato, then noticed there was a plastic scoop inside the lid. So my follow-up question here is,
No,
did you...
No, he's doing it right. That's exactly how you should.
He was
scoop
eating like an
this-
animal.
Chug that
Scooping
fucking
it
thing.
with his hand.
You crack it open, you throw it down. Yeah, that's it.
Like a little
yeah.
bear.
That's
Like a
how you
little bear.
take Mountain Dew straight to the dome.
That's the Baja Blast. It's
That's
like
right.
Your lips.
You just
have
fucking
hypothermia
squeeze
on
it.
your lips.
All right, and this is a unfair question that I feel like is targeting me personally. What are everyone's top 5 super teen teams, excluding any you've written yourself?
In your face, Alex. Take him
Yeah.
off the table.
God
Come
damn
on. Grow up.
Yes. New Mutants, Generation X, Exceptional X. I don't know. I do love New Mutants.
You were just joylessly
Sexual-
listing
plugging
X-Men.
the new shit. I mean,
Yeah.
damn.
New Mutants is probably one of my favorite. Legion is great.
I mean, I truly, like, I was hyping it earlier, but the Legionnaires was my first sort of foray into that. And man, I love that. Sometimes the Legion or the Legionnaires, it's sort of like, oh, it's weird how young they are. But man, in that series back in the day that Mark Waid did in the 90s,
Yes.
it was perfection.
That's the one that I was going to call out. Yeah.
That's the number one.
100%, because I read a couple of runs and I was like, I don't get this at all. And then I read Mark Waid's thing. I think it was actually like early 2000s, not 90s. The one where it was youth in revolt. Is that what you're thinking of?
I was talking about an earlier one.
Oh, okay.
But yes, that one was also very good.
Great.
I would have to go Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then
they are teens. That's true.
Shirt Tails.
Right in the name.
Shirt Tails.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're a teen. Were they a teen?
No, my list really drops off after one there. So
yeah, I thought giving big ups to Mark Waid, everybody's favorite teen correspondent. The Champions run that he did recently for Marvel was pretty good as well. I really like that team. And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the book, Livewire, that Adam Warren did, which was a bunch of teen like robots in the Marvel universe. It was very manga influenced. It was back when Marvel was like, we should publish a bunch of manga volumes, and then they did like 3 of them and then killed the line. But that's great. Livewire's excellent. Search that out if you could find it.
That was very good. I agree with you. Yeah, the run I'm talking about is written by Mary and Tom Bierbaum. This is the 90s one.
Okay.
Is so good. So good.
Yeah. All the game. Broke Cause of Comics says, hey guys, just found the live. Welcome, Broke Cause of Comics.
Yeah, welcome.
All the Game says, you guys fans of the Apple Spy show Slow Horses with Gary Oldman, which is back tomorrow with season 4, paid sponsorship for Slow Horses, I assume. Don't think it gets the love exposure it deserves. My big problem is I don't believe there's any horses on the show, so I refuse to watch it.
Oh, man.
Alex, that's a bad barrier to entry, because I'll tell you what, this show is fantastic. I found this show when season 3 premiered, and I crushed it. It's so good.
Fuck you, man. I've been saying it since season 1.
Yeah, but Pete, you're our slow horse, so it's hard for me to trust you.
Hey, first off, horses aren't slow, so you know what I mean. Like it's problematic from the beginning, but it's really
Alex doesn't
well
like them because
executed.
he loves the Flash. It's fast, and so he can't get behind.
The Flash is like a fast horse, if you will.
A faster horse.
Yes.
I don't know. Horses like go faster than humans, but they're not. Yeah. They're just regular. I don't know. They're just regular.
Here's my question. So this is a spy show, right? With Gary Oldman called Slow Horses, and I believe they work at Slow House, and they're called Slow Horses.
Slough
House.
Dude.
Oh, I'm so sorry. There's
Slightly
another, I
Alex.
believe it's an Apple TV Plus show with Amelia Clark coming up where she plays a Russian spy, and that's called Ponies because there's persons of interest or something like that. What is with all these horse names for spy shows that don't have horses in them?
Oh, sorry. Jerry Seinfeld has checked into the chat.
What's the deal with horses? I mean, I love Mr. Ed, but come on.
Stanley says, any upcoming plans to do an in-person show, maybe at New York Comic Con? Probably not an in-person show at New York Comic Con. I will definitely be there. We were talking on email about getting together and doing some stuff there, so I'm sure we will be doing some things there.
Yes.
Probably not an in-person show. I know we keep promising it, but I do promise you we keep talking about doing it.
We send emails.
We do.
We send emails back and forth to each other saying we should do a live show. And then we're like, yeah, we definitely should. You know what we all should do is this. And then we talk about that. And then we talk about this.
I promise you that.
And then it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for the invitation so we can do a live show together.
I invited you to do a live show in Connecticut, and you were like, I'm busy that weekend.
It was it was kind of a crazy weekend. We hoped. Me and Justin tried. We were like, oh man, it'd be great because that'd be cool. But then it kind of fell apart.
Alex, if I had come, I would have given you COVID.
Yeah.
So, is that what you wanted?
Yes.
You know how I like to breathe in your mouth.
That's the whole show.
He's a close talker. He's a close talker. This guy.
You guys remember when I saw you back at the pit? I was artistic director, and I saw you guys come in, and I was like, "Do you want to do a show where you breathe in my mouth?" And you were like, "Absolutely." And I was like, "I don't know if that's the whole hour. What if we talk about comics as well?" And
we've slowly moved toward comics away from mouth breathing.
Right, the first 3 shows was just breathing in each other's
Hot
mouths.
breath. Pre-podcast. Lost to time.
That's back when Schweikler would bring puppets to the show. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. I mean,
Come on.
that was
come on.
there's
Michael
layers
T
to
says
doing the
best
live show.
French fries, fast food, frozen, or restaurant. I didn't know that was a
Or homemade, bro. Come on, that should
Well,
be
that's
on
the
the
frozen.
list, Michael
aspect.
T.
What are you making? You're cutting potatoes over here?
That's right, man.
When
Wow.
are you doing that?
You're
You
just kind
dropping?
of just shaving my own potatoes. You know
now
what
I'm
I mean?
picturing you're upstairs right now. Your entire downstairs is filled with potatoes.
It's all
right?
potatoes. It's all potatoes.
Okay.
Wow.
Cause
what
of
a
the
life.
Irish potato famine over here.
Yeah.
The current one.
I mean,
I like
it's-
steak fries is my favorite French fry. And
Curly fries? Curly fries. Do those
wait,
I love curly
you're
fries.
saying curly fries. Nobody said
Yeah, I
curly
should've
fries
put
till
a
you were like,
question mark at the end.
yeah. Well, are you saying curly fries are your favorite?
Curly fries or tater tots, I think.
No, it goes
don't
steak,
yours are
then
barely
waffle,
No.
and then you. Get
Oh, were you
into
saying
curly.
just like basic French fries, nothing
I
on
don't-
them?
You guys are both like not understanding what a French fry is. A long, thin potato that has salt on it, and the best is fast food, and I would say McDonald's.
Oh, hot take.
I don't
McDonald's
like
is
them.
great fries.
I don't like.
Chick-fil-A's got better fries. Dude, those waffle fries are fantastic.
Do you know what the
It's
best
like
thing?
it's
Can I
like
just
eating
say?
a-
And then Red Robin's above that.
Can I say one of the best things about
Go to
Chick-fil-A
bed.
fries is you can really taste the homophobia. Like I love that. Like you can taste.
It's in the salt.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
in
You
the
taste it,
salt.
You're like,
Yeah.
ooh, they hate people of the.
You're like, I don't agree with your
plus-
policies and what you guys believe in, but damn, these fries are good.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we go. We had an actual question. This is from Broke Cause of Comics. Is there a book you wish you read earlier in your collecting journey? Great question.
Ooh, great question.
I mean, I will say this is not a specific book, but there was a period of time, probably like right after college, where I just realized there was legitimately so many books that I had never read. I had never read any Frank Miller is the first thing that had come to mind. I had never read probably not Watchmen. Like I had read Watchmen, but I hadn't read a lot of other Alan Moore books.
Yes.
There were huge gaps in my knowledge. And so I spent probably more than a summer, but I definitely remember one of the first summers after college, I was like, I'm going to read everything. I need to educate myself on all of this. So spent a lot of time doing that.
When I was started, I guess when I moved to New York, no, it had to be earlier than that. But I started Sandman at the World's End, around issue 50, and I for a long time never went back. Like I just kept reading forward, and I never was like, I should read this from the beginning. I love it, and I waited until the series was finished. And then only then went back to read it from the beginning. I was like, oh, I didn't need to do this. I could have done it anytime.
I would say, Broke, the thing is like, sometimes when you read a certain comic, you're a different person. You take away different things. So I feel like some things find you at the perfect time in life. But yeah, to a little bit of what Zalbatron was talking about, I was walking around feeling a little ashamed that I hadn't read Swamp Thing. We read it and did a whole thing on it, but
Big shame.
I was kind of like, hate. For some reason, I just kind of missed it. So it was like sometimes you don't, not everything is on the old radar. So yeah, it's always when you got holes and
old
things you
radar.
definitely should have read.
Good point, Pete, and great question over there. And that is it for your audience questions. We are going to move to our next section, which is trivia. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right, this is why we get back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity to win $25 free to Midtown Comics online, because if you had $25, you'd want to go to a comic book shop and get yourself some comics.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? How dare you?
So all we need is a brave volunteer, or someone raise their hand and say, "Yo, I'll do this. Go down this crazy road with you, Pete," and you'll win $25.
It only takes 2 minutes. It's not a crazy road. You don't have to.
It's pretty
journey.
intense. It's pretty
a
intense.
journey,
Zalbin's,
is what
questioning every choice that I make. It's a lot.
I never would.
Stanley.
I love everything you're doing.
Stanley said it even before I even had it. It was, everybody was thinking
Alex,
it. Stanley just said
Pete's quiz, please. LOL. Oh, Garfield McLeod says, I'll do it.
Garfield, yeah, coming through on a Tuesday because he hates Mondays. I love it. Come on.
Wow.
All right, here we go.
First time he's heard that comparison.
Today's trivia is about the amazing comic series Mouse Guard and a small nod to the legend Richard Simmons, R.I.P. All right, please listen to all three options before making your selection.
Hold on, I'm going to start playing the music, but when did Richard Simmons...
July, you asshole. It was July.
July?
We were in June, now we're in July. Like, what the fuck is your problem?
I really thought it was longer.
It's a 6-week
This
delay.
is exactly what Stanley was talking about, dude. Exactly.
Stanley, when he was like, why haven't you paid tribute to me yet?
Stanley.
I died years ago.
Yeah, when are you going to get Stan Lee into this, for God's sakes?
Yeah, when are you going to get around to him?
I can't control it. All right, anyways.
Pete
Here we go. Please listen to all three options before making your selection, Garfield. Question number 1.
Garfield.
Mouse Guard is about sapient mice who are also badass. But when are these stories set? Is it A, medieval times? B, this gossip is fire. Who co-signed it? C, Coburn Goss.
How do you set up a Coburn, by the way? Like, is that a legal process?
I will say, Alex, I think we do a lot of Coburns on TV.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's true. That's true.
Well, we sign a document every time.
Co-sign it. Yep.
Yeah.
We actually just off camera. A, I think.
Yes, he is correct.
Excellent.
Well done. All right, question number 2. Yes, it is won Eisners, but did you know the author is also the artist? Who is it? Is it A, David Peterson? B, C, Money really scarfed down that sandwich? Who? Chris Rolfs.
Oh, man, that's good. C Money really scarfs down that sandwich.
That's right.
Is it C Money because his name is Chris? Is that
That's right. That's
Okay.
exactly
Another
right.
way of saying Chris.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Like Chris Christie, when he introduces himself, he says C Money.
Well, it goes by C squared a lot of the times.
Yeah,
A is correct, Garfield.
Great.
All right, here we go. Last one. Question number 3. Did you know that David Peterson did a variant cover of another amazing comic we all love? Is it A, Lock and Key? B, Take Your Base, Nice Walk? C, Eric Ball 4?
I'll give you. That's a good one. That's a good joke, Pete. That's a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Pete, you're on fire this evening.
Oh, boy.
Pete, you're on fire.
And it is correct. No, he already.
That was the previous.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the
That's a
previous.
previous.
I got
Yeah,
excited.
he hasn't
I got
guessed
excited.
yet.
Yeah.
He's on
I'm
a little
sure he's
bit of a
gonna say
delay.
A.
For anybody who happens to be tuning into the show for the first time, he's on a delay. Aye.
He said.
It's correct because it's Lock and Key.
Hey, there we go. Congratulations, Garfield. You have gotten a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. Shoot us an email and we will get that off to you. Pete, what Richard Simmons movie were you paying tribute to?
Of course, we're talking about the 2000 movie, What Women Want. Also, before we move on, I just wanted to make an honorable mention to Fat Man Scoop, R.I.P. Got a $50.
Hold on.
Hands up.
He
Got your
just
fist
died.
around, Bill. Put your
No,
hands
you
up.
are not allowed to do that for another
Bass drop.
You know
month
the
and a
rules.
half, 2 months.
You know the rules we established, Pete. You're not allowed to shout out a second dead celebrity. We wrote that in the chart. The
Come on,
CBC
dude. It was Fat
charter.
Man Scoop, dude. Come on, man.
When we signed that mouth breathing contract, the secondary thing was you need to pay tribute to dead celebrities 2 months late.
Yeah, we demanded a time for us to grieve. We want to grieve, we said.
Well, anyway, as we all know, new comic books are coming out tomorrow. They're awesome. So many great things coming out. Excited to hear what your guys' picks are. Pete, what are you excited about that's coming out tomorrow?
Well, to no surprise, I'm excited for Get Fury number 5, bangerish, and also Birds of Prey number 13, which has been continually on my excited list because it is unbelievable.
Justin, what about you?
There's a lot to love out here in this world, and I have to throw it out to not to be just like a big dog, but Absolute Power #3 and Ultimates #4. These are big events from DC and Marvel, but they are absolutely crushing it, and I'm loving them. I can't wait to read the next installment. It's crazy to have them crushing it at the same time. But I also want to throw it out to Animal Pound #5. I believe this is the final issue, bringing Tom King's story adaptation, modernization, you could say, to a close. Very excited to see how that goes.
Bunch of things beyond those that I am excited about. Exceptional X-Men #1 from Marvel. Curious to check that out, since Tom Brevoort has been hyping that up a lot online. Also, Plastic Man No More, Black Label series from Christopher Cantwell and Alex Linz that is going to maybe kill off Plastic Man. We'll see. No. And then Minor Arcana, which is written and drawn by Jeff Lemire. Boom Studios has been hyping this one up a lot because this is the first ongoing series that Jeff Lemire has written and drawn since Sweet Tooth. So that's a pretty big deal.
That's exciting. Yeah.
So check that out. And lots more stuff. All of that is going to be in our Stack podcast that drops in its own dedicated Stack feed, as well as the Comic Book Club feed, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. So check that out. And folks, that is it for this week's show. A couple of people we want to thank. We want to thank Tri Vuong for coming on to talk about the strange tales of Oscar Zahn. That's coming out September 10th from 10 Speed Graphic. It's great. Check it out. Dan Parent for talking about Archie, The Decision, and the upcoming Legionnaires book.
Dan Parent on Legionnaires. Let's go.
Come on.
We're going to make it happen. Next week on the show, Alita Pete is going to be here to talk about Indigenerds, and David Arnold and Jose Pimienta are going to be here to talk about Luminous Beings. Comic Book Club News, our daily news podcast coming out Monday through Friday, first thing in the morning. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Support this show and all the shows we do. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Android, Spotify, or the app of your choice. At Comic Book Live on Twitter/X, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok and Instagram. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Good night, folks.
They sit on crappy couches and they let the secrets leak. And occasionally they let that special guest speak. So grab your written hammer, don't be late for it, 'cause their girlfriend can barely tolerate it. Comic Book Club, Comic Book Club, Comic Book Club.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Take care of yourself.